students. So today we are going to see some topics in first hydroxy compounds. So the hydroxy compounds comes under the category of organic chemistries. So we have a 5 chapter total in organic chemistry. First one is hydroxy, the second one is carbonyl compounds, third one is nitrogen based compounds, fourth one is the biomolecules, and fifth one is chemistry in everyday life. Right. So basically what we will study in organic chemistry. So organic chemistry deals with carbon based compound. Carbon based compound. So example for carbon based compound is, first you can say the hydrocarbons, all the hydrocarbons. Example for hydrocarbon is methane, ethane, everything. Methane, ethane, this is for ethane. Okay, and propane, like that we can say for carbon based compound. This is simple hydrocarbons. Okay, and also we have a carbon compound with some functional group. So this is a carbon compound if you think. The carbon compounds can connected with some functional group. Example, this is for hydroxy and this is for amine based compound, right? And this is for carbonyl based compound. So all these are the functional group. This is for hydroxy and this is for amine and this is for carbonyl based compound. So today we are going to see about this hydroxy based organic compounds. Let's see. So I will erase it all other chapters other than the hydroxy compound. So what is hydroxy compound? See, by seeing this name only we can think what are the element present in hydroxy, hydro and oxy, right? So hydroxy. So we are oxy, so oxygen for oxy and hydrogen for hydro, right? So this is hydroxy compound. The hydroxy compound will be connected to some hydrocarbons. Okay, this is hydrocarbon is connected to OH. So this compound is called hydroxy compounds. So example, so hydrocarbons with OH. So let me say this is methane. So methane, how we can convert to hydroxy? We have to substitute, we have to replace the hydrogen with one OH group. So CH3 and OH. This is the simplest hydroxy compound, methanol. Right? Similarly, ethane. This is ethane, CH3, CH3. Again, you can replace one hydrogen with OH. This is CH3, CH2 and OH. And this we call it as ethanol. If you see the parent name, that is ethane. Right? And why it is so important, hydroxy compounds? Because we are using lot of hydroxy based compound in everyday life. Example, other than these two are will use as a solvent in organic chemistry lab or in the pharmaceutical companies. Okay. And any other hydroxy based compound, for example, what we can say, one is a very famous example, that is paracetamol. NH, C double bond O, CH3, and this is OH. See, This is hydroxy based compound. This we call it as paracetamol. We know, right? Paracetamol, how much important. Hmm? So paracetamol is a painkiller and we use it for fever, right? And another famous example, all sugar based compounds. Okay, all sugar based compounds contain lot of many hydroxy group. Example, if you take a structure of glucose, this is the structure of glucose. See how many hydroxy are there? Hmm? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hydroxy groups are there. Okay, so there are many molecules which are very much important in daily life. So that's why we have to learn about the hydroxy group. So how we can prepare the hydroxy group and what are the properties and what is the applications. Okay, and before seeing all those things, we should know how to name the organic compounds. So in this hydroxy compound, mainly we are going to see the first one is hydroxy compound. The first one is aliphatic compound. So in aliphatic hydroxy compound, we will see about the preparation and properties and application. Okay, the same thing for aromatic hydroxy compounds. Aromatic hydroxy compound, the same thing we will study preparation, what is the properties and what is applications. And other than hydroxy compound, we will see about ether. What is ether? Ether is a derivative of hydroxy compounds. Okay, let's see. This how we represent the ether functional group. And again we will same thing we will study how to prepare preparation, properties and also the applications. So before start the preparation of aliphatic compound, how you can divide the hydroxy compound? The hydroxy compound can be divided based on the how many OH are present in the compound. See, so is based on so how many OH are present. Okay, and also it can be divided based on the where the OH group is attached to the hydrocarbon. See where the OH is connected connected to which carbon? Which carbon? So which carbon means we have three types of carbon compounds. That one is sp3 and the sp2 and sp, right? So first we will see based on the OH group present in the compound. So first division is based on the number of OH group. Okay. Suppose your hydrocarbon contain only one OH. So this R for hydrocarbon is contain only one OH group. One OH. Okay. If you have only one OH present in the hydrocarbon, we call it as monohydric. Monohydric alcohol. Right. If the compound contain more than one OH, more than one OH, we call it as polyhydric alcohol. Polyhydric alcohol. or hydroxy compound, right? So the first division, the main division based on the how many OH groups are present. If I have one OH, then we call it as monohydric. If it have more than one OH, then we call it as polyhydric. Okay. So example, if you see example for monohydric is simple methanol. Right. For polyhydric example is there are many examples are there. The simplest one I am writing here, that is glycol. So what the glycol is a common name. What is the structure of that glycol is CH2, CH2 here and OH and OH. Okay, you can see two OH groups are present. So again monohydric alcohols divided into two types based on where OH is attached to which type of carbon. Okay, I already told you there are three types: sp3 hybridization, sp2 carbon, and sp carbons. So the first one it comes under sp3 hybridization. sp3 hybridized carbon. Okay, sp3 hybridized carbon. Another this one is sp2 hybridized carbon. So sp2 means it is for double bond carbon. Okay, so see, this also sp2 carbon, this is also sp2 carbon. Okay, and this is an example for sp2 hybridized carbon. The OH is attached to sp2 carbon. This is sp2 carbon. The common name is vinyl alcohol. Again, sp3 hybridized carbon can be divided into three types. So you can divide three types. One is alkyl attached OH. So the OH will be attached to the alkyl group. And the next one is allyl attached OH. And third one is benzyl attached OH. The sp3 based carbon, we have three types of carbon. One is primary carbon, secondary carbon, and tertiary carbons. So this is for primary carbons. Example, and the alkyl carbon, this carbon should be the primary. Okay, so this CH3, CH2 is the alkyl group, and if you see the OH is attached to carbon, this is a primary carbon. Okay, the primary carbon means the carbon which is attached to the only one carbon. See, if you see this carbon is attached to one carbon only, and similarly this carbon also is directly attached to this carbon. So both carbons are primary carbon. So the OH is now attached to the primary carbon. So it is called the primary alcohol, right? And allyl means is different. So allyl means we have CH2 double bond CH, CH2 OH, and OH again it should be like a primary carbon. So the carbon is directly attached to the only one carbon. And if you see this CH2, the CH2, this is called allyl group, CH2 allyl. So the first we saw the vinyl is, so this sp2 carbon is attached to OH, but allyl means you can see this OH attached to the primary carbon. Okay, sp3 carbon. This is for allyl. And what about benzyl? So benzyl group is, we need a benzene, C6H5 phenyl, and it should be CH2, and this is for benzyl group. Okay, and this is for benzyl, we call. So OH is again attached to the primary carbon. Because why is the primary carbon is directly attached to the only one carbon, phenyl carbon, right? And similarly, if you are for primary carbon, and we can write for the secondary carbon as well. Okay, so what is secondary carbon? This carbon, whatever the alcohol attached to carbon, I should convert to secondary. How I can convert to secondary means, Just substitute one hydrogen with one methyl. So I removed one hydrogen and they are connected with CH3 and OH. Right? And this carbon, we call it a secondary carbon. Why secondary carbon? Because the carbon which is attached to two carbons. This we call it a secondary, and these two CH3, CH3 is called the primary carbon. But if you see the OH is attached to the secondary carbon. That's why it's called it a secondary alcohol. Right? So similarly, I have to write this carbon, the primary carbon, I have to convert to the secondary. CH, here CH3 and OH. So again this part is secondary. This part we call it as allyl group, and also OH is attached to the secondary carbon. The carbon is connected to two carbons directly. Okay, similarly benzyl also we can convert primary to this carbon is primary to secondary C6H5CH. And similarly, I can convert secondary alcohol to tertiary. How we can do CH3? Again, I have to replace one hydrogen with CH3. This CH3 and this is CH3 and OH. And if you see the carbon, this is tertiary carbon. This is tertiary carbon because the carbon which is directly connected to three carbons. Okay, and the remaining all CH3 are the primary one. And similarly, again the secondary we can convert it to tertiary CH3OH. And similarly, the secondary carbon also we can change. You can see this is secondary and this is tertiary carbon. Okay, so this is how we can segregate the hydroxy compounds. Next, we will move to the IUPAC names. Right? So basically, there are two main division of organic or hydroxy-based compound. One is monohydric, which contain only one OH, and this is the polyhydric is contain more than one OH groups. So divided into two types. One is sp3 hybridized carbon, another one is sp2 hybridized carbon. So sp2 hybridized carbon means the OH is directly connected to the sp2 carbon, that is C double bond. sp3 hybridized means the carbon which is directly connected to sp3. Okay, again the sp3 carbon can be subdivided into three types. Is based on the hydrocarbon part. So it is the OH can be directly connected just alkyl or allyl or benzyl. Okay. And allyl is this is what the functional group, and benzyl is this is the one. So again in alkyl, allyl, benzyl, we can write it for the primary carbon, secondary and tertiary carbon. Okay. And this is for the primary carbon. And primary carbon means the carbon which is directly connected to the only one carbon. And again we can the same example, the same carbon we can convert to secondary carbon, and this is for the tertiary carbons. And thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.